If you want to become a Hollywood actor, just set foot on the streets of Los Angeles. Here, you don't need a casting call, and you don't need to step onto a film set. All you have to do is walk down streets like downtown or Venice Beach, and you'll instantly find yourself the main character in a real-life apocalypse movie. A film that's been quietly rolling for decades. No dialogue, no rehearsals. Because this city will write the script for you, with makeshift tents on sidewalks, dangers lurking around every corner, and chaotic sounds echoing through the night. Hollywood may shine bright with neon lights, but behind that glamorous stage, Los Angeles is slowly sinking into panic. In today's video, we'll delve into the hidden corners behind the Hollywood curtain that few dare to mention. From the makeshift tent cities springing up in the heart of the city, to the streets that were once symbols of freedom, now only uncertainty and chaos remain. Watch until the end of the video, because this story isn't just about Los Angeles. It could be a warning for any city, where the line between glamour and ruin is increasingly thin. Once considered the temple of American cinema, Hollywood Boulevard was not only the birthplace of legendary premieres, but also created over 650,000 jobs, along with hundreds of thousands of related jobs in services, transportation, legal, and logistics. This street used to be the heartbeat of Los Angeles, where all the lights shone on the stars. But by 2025, that aura had faded. Many iconic locations are abandoned or dilapidated, silent like old films gathering dust in storage. The Walk of Fame, which once welcomed millions of visitors each year, now has sections of sidewalk that have become home to the homeless. The attractions that were once a source of pride are now seeing a sharp decline in visitor numbers. Many long-time residents and business owners are leaving closed shops and gaps in the rhythm of life. Those who stayed said the atmosphere was no longer as friendly as it used to be. On an online forum, a traveler shared, "You'd think a place full of tourists would be clean, but Hollywood is a place I always avoid because everything is run down and feels unsafe." This isn't an isolated feeling, but a common echo of many who have set foot here. That reality is just the tip of the iceberg of a doom loop that began many years ago. But the fatal blow came from the COVID-19 pandemic. The entertainment industry is struggling due to prolonged strikes, production shifts to other states, and fierce competition from the international market. The number of films and television shows shot in LA has dropped to a record low, only 20% compared to two-thirds a decade ago. Experts call this America's new Rust Belt and worry that Los Angeles could repeat Detroit's mistakes, going from a tourist and entertainment paradise to a city losing faith where the lights only shine on empty ghost streets. Many experts believe that Los Angeles may have inadvertently rested on its laurels for too long. And when the city woke up from its dream, it realized it had drifted too far and the path back seemed impossible. This shock is particularly cruel to those in the entertainment industry, people who have spent their lives dedicated to the spotlight. When work disappeared, the only source of income went with it, and in a short time, many families fell into destitution, even dropping from the middle class straight into homelessness. In reality, of the over 75,000 homeless people in Los Angeles, the majority once worked during Hollywood's golden age. A single decision to cut staff or streamline the organization can push someone from a warm apartment onto the cold streets overnight. A 64-year-old man who used to live in LA shared, "Los Angeles was chaotic in the early 90s. I lived in Fontana until I realized I needed to get out of this hellhole and move back to Texas. And that was the wisest decision I've ever made in my life." This decline is not only evident on Hollywood Boulevard. Streetlights are broken, sidewalks are cracked and crumbling. The cold emptiness of closed shops and restaurants is interspersed with the shadows of homeless people. On some sidewalks, temporary castles, patched together from wood, tarpaulins, and whatever materials could be found sprang up, even obscuring the stars that once symbolized the endless glory of the film industry. And as darkness slowly takes over what once gleamed with light, security becomes fragile. Groups of youths gather, clash, and battle for territory, bringing with them illicit activities tied to prohibited goods, giving the city the look of an urban landscape struggling to protect its own residents. Los Angeles, once a city of pride, is gradually losing its very soul. And if even Hollywood, the shining symbol of the American dream, is faltering, what will become of the city's other areas? There were places that once made the whole world look up, not just for the beauty of the skyscrapers, but for the sense of security, order, and opportunity they offered. Downtown Los Angeles used to be like that, from wide boulevards reflecting light on skyscraper glass to historic theaters and bustling shopping centers. This was once a place where visitors believed they were standing in the beating heart of the City of Angels. But today, that heart is rotting from within. On streets that were once clean and bustling, the most common sights are rows of crowded tents, homeless people leaning against walls, and abandoned buildings, as if the city has just been through a silent crisis. And downtown is also home to the most prominent neighborhood in the United States for the homeless crisis, Skid Row. Just a few steps from the bright lights of Hollywood, where it stretches for over 50 blocks, lies a place where thousands of people live amidst garbage, disease, and despair. Los Angeles currently has over 75,000 homeless people, and Skid Row alone is home to over 3,800 people within an area of less than 5 square kilometers. The tents were erected close together, resembling a refugee camp in the middle of the city. Amidst the scorching sun, the stench of garbage, sewage, and the stifling heat from the road surface mingled together, enveloping the neighborhood in a thick, heavy atmosphere. The contrast is stark. On one side, there's a coffee shop selling $7 lattes, million-dollar apartments, and Teslas neatly parked under manicured trees. On the other, just a few feet away, an elderly man sits on the sidewalk, clutching a plastic bag containing all his remaining possessions. Not a few people here were once entertainment industry workers or service workers, but now they only have a few old photos or an employee ID card as fragile proof that they once had a place in society. Skid Row is like an invisible boundary, where society dumps what it doesn't want to see, and also a mirror reflecting the price paid for the city's glamour. But Skid Row is just the tip of the iceberg. The entire downtown area is facing a worsening security situation. Brawls, robberies, and random acts of vice are on the rise. Illegal transactions are taking place openly. Gangs are operating right next to the financial district, making both office workers and tourists feel unsafe. Storefronts are closed. For lease signs are popping up every place. Many major brands are quietly leaving downtown due to safety concerns and declining customer traffic. The dilapidated infrastructure is clearly visible. Broken streetlights, cracked sidewalks, patchy graffiti on walls, and the stench of garbage and sewage permeating the air. The chaos was further intensified by current events. The anti-ICE protest, which drew dozens of people and resulted in 3 arrests. Scattered minor brawls and explosions that created an atmosphere of unease that lasted day and night. Downtown was once the place Los Angeles was proud to show the world. Now, it serves as a stark warning that when the heart of a city begins to rot, no part of its urban body will be safe. And if even this heart is failing, will the rest of the city be strong enough to withstand the approaching storms? On the tourist map, Sunset Boulevard still appears as one of Los Angeles' iconic avenues, a place that has been featured in countless films, music videos, and has become a backdrop for popular culture. But as soon as you turn at the intersection with Martel Avenue, that image immediately disappears, giving way to a much more thorny reality. According to ABC 7 News, residents around this area have had to live next to a homeless encampment that has existed for 17 months. During that time, they faced a series of security issues. Cars were vandalized, garages were broken into, packages were stolen, and numerous acts of violence occurred right outside their front door. One resident recounted that their family members were once attacked with sticks in broad daylight, right on the sidewalk where they used to feel safe walking their dogs. The problem is, every time the camp is cleared, only 24 to 48 hours later, the tents reappear, as if no one had ever been there. Some residents sarcastically compared this to free room service for the camp, rather than a real solution. The councillor's office responded that during the most recent cleanup, 3 people were placed in shelters, and the Encampment to Home program helped 43 people find housing, with more beds needed to continue the relocation. However, for the residents who still have to live near the tents every day, that number seems too small to change the sense of insecurity and fatigue that has lasted for nearly 2 years. Sunset Boulevard, once the golden ribbon of Los Angeles, now has sections covered in plastic tarps, plywood, and the sounds of arguments echoing from tents. And the question echoed silently: will this street ever regain its image? Or will it forever become a symbol of a Los Angeles struggling to heal the wounds right in its heart? Los Angeles was once a place where the middle class believed they could build a stable life, with a small home, a modest car, and savings for their children's future. But the current figures show that this dream seems to be increasingly out of reach. In 2025, the average rent in Los Angeles for a dilapidated one-bedroom apartment exceeded $2,900 per month, a price 60% higher than the national average. Adding to this are living expenses, from food, gas, and health insurance to utility bills, which mean a family of 4 needs at least $7,200 per month to maintain a basic standard of living. For many, this is a spending threshold that exceeds their monthly gross income. Some middle-class families are forced to leave the areas they've been attached to for decades, moving to smaller cities or states with lower living costs like Arizona, Texas, or Idaho. They left behind rental homes that increased in price every year, familiar neighborhoods that had now become the playground of higher-income groups. Leaving isn't just a change of address, it's also losing a part of the community, school, and network of long-standing friends. The vicious cycle starts here. When the middle class leaves, service workers, teachers, healthcare professionals, or skilled laborers, the backbone of the local economy, also disappear. The consequence is that small shops, family restaurants, or repair shops lose a stable customer base. These gaps seem to be only partially filled by major brands, from supermarkets like Walmart and Costco to coffee chains like Starbucks. This helps maintain some economic activity, but it also completely changes the neighborhood's inherent identity and pace of life. In the long run, some experts believe that the uncontrolled rise in the cost of living could make these cities beautiful to visit, but difficult to live in long term. Neighborhoods that were once warm with neighborly love can transform into short-term rental blocks where Airbnb guests come and go constantly, but long-term residents are scarce. However, solutions are still being mentioned. Some families seek to reduce pressure by utilizing membership programs like Costco to buy food and essentials at wholesale prices, or by using price comparison apps for rent and utilities to find affordable rates. Food delivery services like Instacart or Amazon Fresh also help save time and travel costs, especially for those who live far from the city center. Some young people are also choosing co-living, sharing a house with multiple people to split costs, which is both economical and maintains a sense of community. At the government level, there are initiatives aimed at increasing housing supply and encouraging the development of affordable rental housing projects. However, progress is often slow and faces many legal, planning, or opposition obstacles from a segment of the population. Meanwhile, non-profit organizations and community groups continue to advocate for rent, assistance policies, or tax incentives for landlords who keep prices reasonable. How can a city maintain its vitality and diversity when the very people who make up its soul are being gradually pushed out. In recent years, if you stood at any train station, airport, or highway heading out of California, you might have inadvertently witnessed an ongoing flow, a quiet but steady migration. The numbers show that this trend is no longer a temporary phenomenon. In just 4 years, California has lost over 1.46 million residents, with a significant portion of them coming from Los Angeles County. According to data from the US Census Bureau, this is the 4th consecutive year the state has seen more people leave than move in. Why? It's not just the sky-high housing prices or the exorbitant cost of living. It's also the erosion of the belief that California can continue to provide opportunities as it once did. Many people choose to migrate to Nevada, Arizona, Texas, or Idaho, where housing prices are only half that of Los Angeles. With the money from selling a mid-range house in California, they could buy a more spacious one with a garden and still have a significant amount left over. Not a few people also left due to the state's strict taxes and regulations, feeling that their money would last longer elsewhere. But leaving isn't just a financial decision. It was quite an emotional shock. A family who lived in the San Fernando Valley for 20 years shared that leaving their familiar neighborhood felt like being uprooted. Their children had to say goodbye to friends, daily routines were disrupted, and memories were packed into cardboard boxes. This mass exodus is leaving a noticeable void. Small businesses lost customers, schools saw a decline in student numbers, and many neighborhoods began to see long vacant homes. Conversely, states welcoming the influx of residents from California are experiencing rapid home price increases, infrastructure pressure, and changes in community structure. It's noteworthy that not everyone who leaves wants to leave California behind. Many people say that if the cost of living were more affordable and job opportunities were commensurate with the standard of living, they would stay. But when the choice is between continuing to race to pay bills or starting a new life elsewhere, more and more people are choosing the second option. This migration is quiet and unassuming, yet it is subtly reshaping the socio-economic landscape of California. It raises a big question for the future. Is there still room for the middle class in the California dream? Or has it become a privilege reserved only for the few who can afford the state's enormous costs? In many major US cities, including Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Seattle, social welfare and urban management programs always seem to be one step behind reality. Resettlement plans, rental assistance, or community health services are often announced with high expectations. But when implemented, the progress and scope are often unable to keep pace with the rapidly spreading crisis. Part of the reason comes from the complexity of the administrative apparatus. The budget must be shared across many sectors, and the approval process takes months, even years. During that time, the situation on the streets continued to worsen. The number of makeshift tents increased, affordable rental housing continued to disappear, and support services became overwhelmed. Even highly praised initiatives, such as food stamp programs, rent subsidies, or free mental health services, struggle to reach the target groups who truly need them. Some people don't know how to apply, others don't have the necessary documents, and quite a few feel the process is more complicated than applying for a home loan at Bank of America. Meanwhile, many major brands are taking advantage of this gap to create marketized solutions for public services. For example, Amazon Fresh and Walmart have expanded their discounted grocery delivery services to low-income areas, making it unnecessary for a segment of the population to travel long distances to purchase essential items. Platforms like Airbnb partner with local governments to provide temporary housing for families displaced after natural disasters or evictions. However, these solutions are still temporary and are unlikely to replace a comprehensive and sustainable social welfare strategy. Another issue is the gap between the speed of the crisis and the speed of policy adjustment. As the housing market changes rapidly and rents skyrocket, affordable housing projects take years to complete. During that time, thousands of people had to leave the city, leaving a labor gap in already understaffed sectors like retail, food service, and healthcare. Some experts believe that to bridge the gap between policy and reality, cities need to adopt a more flexible approach, combine public and private resources, and prioritize solutions that are quick, cost-effective, and still maintain quality. Retail, technology, and financial services brands, such as Target, Costco, or PayPal, if integrated into support programs, can help scale and accelerate execution. If the pace of policy remains slower than the pace of the crisis, will current efforts be enough to prevent a new generation from having to consider the streets as a permanent residence? For decades, Hollywood has been the world's film capital. The streets around Hollywood Boulevard used to be packed with tourists. The lights from theaters like the TCL Chinese Theater shone brightly all night, and major film studios like Warner Bros. Universal or Paramount are global icons. But in recent years, the explosion of streaming services has completely changed the structure of the entertainment industry, and the City of Angels is having to redefine its role. Nowadays, many people are no longer as eager to buy tickets to see movies in theaters as they used to be. They open Netflix, Disney+, Amazon Prime Video, or Hulu, and with just one click, they can access thousands of new movies and series. Instead of waiting in the hot sun in Los Angeles to take a photo with a star on the Walk of Fame, a segment of the audience seems more comfortable staying home, enjoying movies on a 4K screen with a Starbucks purchased from a delivery service. This creates an unprecedented shift. Box office revenue is down, studio tours are no longer as appealing as before, and many shops and restaurants around Hollywood Boulevard, which rely on international tourists, are starting to see fewer customers. Many mid-level or up-and-coming artists and actors share that they are forced to seek additional income from other platforms like YouTube, TikTok, or open a Patreon channel to connect directly with their audience rather than relying solely on traditional roles. Not only have audiences changed their habits, but the way film studios produce content has also transformed. Instead of releasing a single blockbuster in theaters, many studios like Disney and Warner Bros. Prioritize simultaneous release on streaming platforms, and some projects are even exclusively online. This strategy helps reach a global audience faster, but it also makes the experience of watching a movie as an event less special. The advertising and content production market is also shifting significantly. Brands like Nike, Apple, and Coca-Cola, which once spent millions on advertising in theaters or at movie premieres, are now allocating more of their budget to partnerships with streaming platforms or influencer marketing. This not only caused Hollywood to lose revenue from audiences, but also a portion from related advertising investments. Can a place once synonymous with golden Oscar tickets retain its soul when audiences now watch movies every place except movie theaters? Hollywood, once a beacon of the American dream, now seems to share the stage with the dark corners that people once tried to avoid. The streets that were once vibrant with signs are now covered by temporary tents. The movie theaters that used to sell out are now empty, and stories of resilience are now mixed with sighs. They still say Los Angeles is the city of second chances, but for many residents, that opportunity seems further away than ever. The light of the film capital still remains, but it is dimmer, colder, as if being swallowed by the very darkness it creates. Can a city rewrite its own script, or will it continue to drift in a story that no one wants to see the ending of anymore? Can Hollywood once again become a source of inspiration, or will it only be the backdrop for documentaries about a bygone era? If you have a story or memory about Los Angeles, whether light or dark, please share it in the comments section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can continue to tell stories that not everyone is willing to listen to, but everyone needs to know. Each share is an opportunity to add one more person who understands, one more person who cares, and one more ray of hope for those whose lives are lived in silence. This video is not intended to condemn any organization, individual, or political group. All information presented is based on publicly available data, official reports, and field observations from multiple perspectives. The stories, images, and perspectives presented are educational in nature, reflecting social realities to stimulate constructive discussion without creating incitement, panic, or stereotyping. We do not condone any illegal behavior whatsoever. We do not normalize suffering, and we do not turn human misery into entertainment. This is not a conclusion, but an invitation to reflect together, to dialogue together, and to hold on to the remaining humanity within each of us.